Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. You know who it is. And let's talk about Kanye. Rapper, artist, producer, free thinker, and someone who we never talk about on this channel ever. So, um, this tweet over here next to my head, I think is an important bit of news that got lost in, I think, the haze of new tweets, of videos of Kanye, whether it be on SNL or in a school, making controversial statements. I've talked about some of it. It doesn't really need to get litigated all over again in this video because this is kind of focusing on a different topic here. So Kanye, his latest record, Ye, latest solo album anyway. Definitely one of my favorite hip-hop records of the year. I think it's pretty cool. Thought it was a very personal and revealing album, although Kanye drops a bit of interesting information about that record in regards to the song Violent Crimes. He says, Partisan Fontaine wrote the Violent Crimes verses. I changed 2 lines. He wrote the entire song, though. Sci-Hi Khan's Party, the ghost in the industry. So Kanye essentially saying the verses of the song Violent Crimes written by somebody else, song pretty much written by somebody else, and then beyond that, citing Sci-Hi the Prince and Consequence, artists who have been known to have written for Kanye in the past, have had a hand in some of his best and most popular songs on some of his most groundbreaking albums, and then essentially saying the ghosts in the industry, ghostwriting, other people writing for you, so on and so forth. Now, up until this point, it has been no secret that Kanye West has really leaned on his collaborators for his greatest records and his greatest songs in the past, and that a lot of the time when he does change his sound or reinvent himself for a new album, it's because he's kind of taken someone else under his wing who kind of influences his style and influences his evolution in that direction, whether it be, again, Consequence, whether it be Kid Cudi, whether it be Travis Scott, whether it be Sci-Hi the Prince, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And again, nothing new in regards to that. And ghostwriting these days in hip-hop music is less and less and less of a taboo. And I myself don't even really have that big of an issue with it generally, especially since hip-hop music has very much become the zeitgeist, has very much replaced pop music in a lot of respects. And a lot of the music, as a result, a lot of the mainstream music, takes a really mainstream tone in terms of its general messaging, in terms of its immediacy. I mean, that's why when you're talking about all these ghost-written songs, a lot of the time you're talking about, like, I got two bands. I got three bands. I got four bands, or, you know, whatever, just something simple and catchy and straightforward like that, just to kind of riff off the top of my head. To me, that's, I don't know, as long as the song is entertaining and it's catchy and it's repeatable, I don't personally see the harm in that. I don't see that as necessarily being a bad thing. There are lots of other artists in other genres who make very popular music, and they take on other writers to help their process along. Now, I don't know if I would necessarily come out and say that what Kanye engaged in here is necessarily a deception, because a lot of the information about the creation of Ye upon the release of the record was pretty much obscured. Not everybody knew all the collaborators, all the people who took part in the album. So maybe if that was something that Kanye was upfront with at the very beginning, maybe this Partisan Fontaine connection would have been exposed, but now he's sort of saying it now in a delayed fashion. That being said, though, I do think the song Violent Crimes does pose a unique situation when it comes to ghostwriting. And the reason for that is in my opinion, Violent Crimes is an incredibly personal song. Now, like I said, I don't see any sort of updates here on Wikipedia in regards to the credits or anything. But again, to talk about the lyrics on this thing, This song is all about Kanye rapping about being the father of a daughter and coming to terms with his own transgressions against women and trying to, in sort of a patriarchal fashion as well, protect his daughter from the world, protect his daughter from guys who he sees as kind of being slime balls like him, and so on and so forth. And the way that things will most likely play out if he tries to act against that, because he himself is kind of fallen, he's clueless, he is the devil rebuking the sin, as he says in the track. Really powerful moment, powerful finish for the album. I liked it, I loved it, thought it was a great moment on the record. And in retrospect, after having learned this information, I probably still like it. It probably hasn't really changed my opinion on my enjoyment of the track all that much. But still, the idea that the words coming out of Kanye's mouth on this track are not necessarily his is a bit of a shock. It really truly is, because I would like to think that words this personal, words this cutting, words that get to the root of Kanye's insecurities as a father would have been written by the man who is dealing with that experience. And unfortunately, that just doesn't seem to be the case. You know, he says that he changed 2 lines. I'm not exactly sure what those 2 lines are. But still, this kind of goes beyond somebody just writing a general song about, oh, well, I was sexist and then I had a daughter and then I had a change of heart or something like that. If he wrote all the verses on this track and Kanye just changed 2 lines, if Kanye is correct and and this is the extent to which his involvement in the track and the writing process was, this man was literally writing from the standpoint of Kanye on this track. You know, it's not like he was just telling a story with some clear father-daughter societal tropes. Like, he was literally writing as if, okay, well, I'm going to be Kanye West, and if I'm going to have a daughter, these are the feelings that I'm going to have, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of disturbing. I feel like that's a little bit of a betrayal. And granted, Kanye got up there and he performed the song well. He gave it a lot of heart and it was convincing. And I've said this before in other videos. I see rapping and I see singing very much as being in line with acting. Because sure, while you've got to have good rhythm and pitch and so on and so forth, you've got to have the emotional conviction to deliver the track as well. And Kanye certainly has that in spades on all of his tracks. In all of his rants, no matter what comes out of Kanye's mouth, he is 100% convinced that it is like infallible reality, so on and so forth. And he's completely unshaken in that. That being said, though, it's still kind of odd to know and to hear that these words are not his. Again, if this were another Kanye hit where it's just like Gold Digger or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily bat an eye, because that to me is like, oh, well, that's just a pop rap song about a pretty simple message that people have been repeating over and over and over for decades and decades and decades. It wouldn't surprise me for somebody to have a ghostwriter on that, or that sort of sounds like a song that anybody could have written from that standpoint. You know, but to me, the standpoint of this song is super specific. It's super unique to Kanye's personality, to what he's been going through life in recent times. So it's a little off-putting, I guess. I can't exactly say, oh, this is a fucking foul, Kanye's canceled, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I guess at least he had the authenticity to come out here and admit the situation. But still, it still doesn't really sit 100% right with me. And I do find it a little worrisome, and I do find it kind of problematic, because if we're willing to step over this line, you know, what line can't we step over in terms of a ghostwriter basically just writing your most personal, intimate, and innermost thoughts for you. They're yours. Writing them for you in a song so you could deliver a really emotional, powerful track that you don't really think and you don't really mean. Furthermore, what kind of makes me worried about this is that Kanye at this point, as far as his public persona is concerned, is really unpredictable, volatile, unhinged, acting incredibly irrationally. And I worry and I wonder if not for the ghostwriters, if not for the ocean of people that he typically surrounds himself with on his albums in the recording process of his records, where would his music be right now? You know, you go back and you go back to the earliest days of College Dropout. Kanye's hands and fingerprints, sure, you could talk about Consequence, but his fingerprints are all over so much more of everything having to do with that album, at least from what I understand. At least from what I've read, I've been told, from what all of us understand about that record. But I at least felt like Kanye was telling personal stories from his own standpoint and with his own words. This to me just kind of feels like, again, almost a half truth in a way. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Maybe for you guys, it doesn't bother you as much. And that might be slightly a generational thing on my part. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts on this whole situation. You guys are the best. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that Upworthy link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Kanye West, Violent Crimes, Forever.